Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at do you need Last Resort, Umbreon, and Vaporeon. So thank you for all the likes and comments requesting part number 2, which is Umbreon. And again, for those that haven't seen part number 1, I'll include it in the link in the description. But essentially this question comes up because Ferocious Cup is coming up, and Umbreon is ranked number 1 overall and is arguably the meta-defining Pokemon in this cup. It's a really great generalist. It has a spectacular bulk and a great moveset, but its moveset is supplemented by Last Resort. So the question is, do you need it? So Last Resort is a normal type move, 55 energy, 90 damage, 1.64 DP. We discussed in the last video. It's very good. Similar ratio to Psychic, Earth Power, Brave Bird, a number of different moves that are pretty decent, and which makes it different than Return, because Return is a mediocre move at best. So let's take a look at Umbreon versus all the Ferocious Cup. You'll see I've done similar to the Vaporeon video. I've done Snarl Foul Play by itself, Snarl Foul Play Last Resort, Snarl Foul Play, and Dark Pulse. And you'll see in the Zero Shield scenario, Snarl Foul Play and Snarl Foul Play and Dark Pulse pretty much perform almost the same. Dark Pulse does edge out like one more matchup, flips it from a tie to a win, while Snarl Foul Play Last Resort picks up 7 more wins over Foul Play, and then in fact 4 more draws from those losses. So or 3 more draws from those losses. That's a pretty extraordinary feat. In the one shield, you'll see Last Resort again outperforms Foul Play and Dark Pulse. This time by 3 wins, and as well converting 1 more of those losses to a draw. And in the 2 shield scenario, again you'll see Last Resort flips 3 of the losses to wins, and then 1 of them to a draw. So you can see that Last Resort, even though all these ratios are very high, these are really great win weights. Snarl Foul Play Last Resort has a pretty extraordinary win rate. But let's take a look at, these are the meta Pokemon that I've included. The only thing I've changed for my Vaporeon video is I swapped out Umbreon for Vaporeon, and this time I included Vaporeon with Water Gun, Last Resort, and Aqua Tail. And then you'll see Umbreon versus the restricted meta. And no surprise, in the Zero Shield scenario is where most of the changes occur. And you'll see that with Last Resort, Grand Ball becomes a tie in the Zero Shield scenario. It's very close though. And then you pick up the Alolan Raticate and Skunk Tank matchup. And that makes sense because you're going to be able to hit Alolan Raticate and Skunk Tank with neutral damage with Last Resort. And then as well, you're going to be able to hit Grand Ball with neutral Last Resort as opposed to resisted Foul Play or Dark Pulse, and has a really great win rate in the Zero Shield scenario. In the one shield scenario, Foul Play and Dark Pulse actually win more matches, and that's because they pick up, with Dark Pulse you're able to pick up the Minun and the Delcatty matchup, but you still lose the Alolan Raticate matchup. And in the 2 shield matchup, you pick up the Skunk Tank matchup, but you trade it off with the Dark Pulse matchup. So it's really, in the Zero Shield scenario, do you feel the biggest difference? But we also know that when I simulated the matchups, I simulated using perfect PvP IVs for Last Resort and Dark Pulse, and it's very unlikely that your Last Resort will have even good PvP IVs. Oftentimes they're shinies, or they're trades, or they're limited, or they're high IV. So I set it back to the default IV, which might still be an overestimation. And you'll see in the Zero Shield scenario, Last Resort comes back down to earth and really doesn't pick up those matchups that it picked up in the first set. And you'll see you're basically trading the Donphan matchup for the Alolan Raticate matchup, which is something to consider. And the 1 shield and 2 shield matchup, it's pretty similar. You're trading your dark matchups for coverage against Minun and Delcatty, and then in the 2 shield matchup you're trading Minun for Skunk Tank. And if we take a look at the other situations, which is Umbreon versus restricted meta, but no baiting. So you're just going for the best move. In this case, in the 1 shield and 2 shield scenario against fellow dark types, you're not trying to bait with foul play at all. You're just going straight last resort. And then in the other matchups where Dark Pulse has a higher DP, you're gonna go for Dark Pulse, and you'll see that Dark Pulse actually edges out Last Resort and picks up one more additional win, and that one additional win in this case compared to the baiting on both sides is actually Suicune. And that makes sense just because Suicune has to go all the way up to Hydro Pump in this case. And then you'll see in the 2 shield scenario, they actually end up with in the same number of wins, and there's no notable unique wins on either side. So that's like, we go from like baiting to no baiting, and then the question is, in the worst case scenario, no bait on your side and your opponent baits you, and what happens? And we'll see again, pretty similar. You're going to be looking for trade-offs between the darks versus coverage versus other Pokemon. Do you want to become a better generalist but lose to your fellow dark types, or do you want to beat your fellow dark types and lose these potential generalist matchups in very close situations? And then the mirror match, no baiting. Okay, should say mirror match, not no baiting on the other side. So I have, this is all from Last Resort's perspective, so ignore that no baiting on your side. And basically, you'll see in the both baiting perspective, like there's no win condition. There's not even a tie condition for Dark Pulse. It's absolutely, Last Resort just absolutely dominates. In the only Dark Pulse is baiting, so Last Resort is, you're just going straight Last Resort, and then you bait in some situations. You'll see that, and actually in this case, foul play is the best move. Just because it actually results in the same DP against the default IV Umbreon when you're using when you're using a perfect PvP IV Umbreon. That might be different. You have to input your particular IVs, but in this case, you'll see that your only win condition is that if you're up 2 shields to 0, which is a pretty rare instance. And then when only Last Resort is baiting, you'll see that again it's similar to both baiting. And then with no baiting, it's very similar to only Dark Pulse baiting, and that's because you're doing straight foul play anyways, and your opponent is doing straight Last Resort. And so the thing is, if you have a good PvP IV Last Resort Umbreon, it is ultimately going to be your best option. It does pick up a lot of matchups in the zero shield matchup that foul play and Dark Pulse doesn't, and it wins the mirror, and it does wins several no shield matchups. But what in reality you're really comparing a good IV Dark Pulse Umbreon wins several matchups that an average PvP Last Resort Umbreon does not. However, requires much more knowledge and understanding of the particular matchup, but a skilled trainer will be able to take advantage. And Last Resort also wins the mirror matchup. It doesn't like absolutely dominate the mirror matchup. It's not like it's such a one-sided situation. Umbreon's very tanky. Foul play and Dark Pulse are still very good moves, and there's no stab on Last Resort. But you do. It's close. It's a close-ish matchup, but you do win it pretty easily. It's a pretty straightforward matchup. So the thing is, like with Dark Pulse, you pick up coverage, but it's also difficult to use. You got to figure out in what matchups do I go straight foul play, which matchups do I need to bait with foul play, and then close it off with Dark Pulse, which ones where Dark Pulse has a slight DPE advantage. So it's very difficult to use. But you can pick up matchups like the Minun into Delcatty and sometimes the Suicune matchup. But Last Resort is good against other dark types and the mirror. So it depends on what you're going to want to trade off. Ultimately, they're both really great generalists. Just understanding what kind of trade-offs you're ultimately trying to entail. So anyways, that's my comprehensive video on comparing Last Resort Umbreon to Dark Pulse Umbreon. If you want to see other comparisons, such against Alolan Raticate, should you use Dark Pulse Umbreon versus Alolan Raticate. Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see everyone in the next video.